water. Now we come to a new concept and understand the term soluble, insoluble. What dissolved, what did not. On Sunday, Aisha's cousin brother Hamid came to her house to play. As soon as he came, he asked his aunt to make his favorite shakkar para, a sweet dish. Ammi said, "Let me come back from the market, then I'll make some for you. Why don't you help me? Take 2 glasses of water and put a bowl of sugar in it. Mix it till it dissolves." Hamid thought, "Let me finish this work fast, then I'll watch TV." But when Hamid started dissolving 1 bowl of sugar in 2 glasses of water, then he found that the sugar is taking a lot of time to dissolve. So now suggest some ways to Hamid for quickly dissolving sugar. We can dissolve sugar quickly by stirring continuously and heating the water, and dissolve sugar by stirring continuously. Let's do one more experiment. For this experiment, you will need 4 to 5 glasses or bowls, spoons, water, and the things listed in the table, that is salt, soil, chalk powder, 1 spoon milk and oil. Take some water in each glass. Now try to dissolve one thing in 1 glass. Observe what happens and note in the table. After keeping for 2 minutes, salt mixed in water, soil settled down, chalk powder settled down, oil floats on water, and milk mixed in water. Now let's complete this table. Salt, did it dissolve or not? Yes. What happened after keeping for 2 minutes? Salt and water got mixed together completely. Soil, it did not dissolve. Soil settled down on the bottom of the glass and water became muddy. Chalk powder, it did not dissolve. After 2 minutes, some chalk powder got settled down on the bottom and some got spread throughout water. 1 spoon milk, it dissolved. After 2 minutes, milk and water got mixed together, making water look whitish. And oil, it did not dissolve. Oil floated as a layer on the surface of water. Could you see the salt after it dissolved in water? If no, why? No, we could not see the salt after it is dissolved in water because salt gets completely mixed with water. Does that mean that now the water does not have salt? If it has, then where is the salt? No, that does not mean that water does not have salt. Salt has broken down into smaller particles which have occupied the positions in between the particles of water. What difference did you see in the water with salt and the water with chalk powder after keeping for some time? After keeping for some time, water with salt looks clear and transparent, whereas the water with chalk powder looks whitish, with some chalk powder settled down on the bottom of the glass. Which of the two would you be able to separate from the water by straining with a cloth, salt or chalk powder? We can separate chalk powder by straining with a cloth since it doesn't get dissolved. Salt gets dissolved in water, hence we cannot strain it. This is water with salt and this is water with chalk powder. And in this figure, the chalk powder is being strained, and this method is called filtration. Here are some examples of things which dissolve in water and which do not dissolve in water. So sugar, salt, soda, ink, food color, vinegar, ice, chocolate syrup, milk powder, coffee powder, etc. dissolve in water, whereas chalk powder, sand, metal, plastic, paper, plants, hair, wood, cotton, oil, ghee, pepper powder, etc. they do not dissolve in water. Now one more interesting experiment. Racing drops. Aisha put 2 drops of oil on the lid of a tiffin box. Next to that she put 2 drops of water and 2 drops of sugar solution. She tilted the lid. She saw some drops slid down quickly while some other were left behind. Now which drop went ahead and why did it slide faster? Drops of water slide faster than the oil drops or sugar solution because water is thinner than both oil and sugar solution. An unique property of liquids is something called viscosity. Remember this term, viscosity. Viscosity is a liquid's resistance to flow, means opposes to flow. Low viscosity means easy flow, high viscosity means slow flow. Among water, oil and sugar solution, water is thin, having a low viscosity. Thus, water flows more easily than oil. Oil is thick, having a high viscosity. Thus, oil slides slower than water. Sugar solution is even more thick, so more viscous than oil. Thus, sugar solution slides slower than oil and water. There are 2 factors. First factor is light and heavy. Light means less dense. Heavy means more dense. Second factor is thin and thick. Thin means less viscous, easy flow. Thick means more viscous, slow flow. Here you have to understand clearly that oil is lighter than water, that is less dense than water, so it floats as a layer on water. But at the same time, oil is thicker than water, that is more viscous than water, so it slides slower than water. Where did the water go? One day Aisha's mother put some water to boil on the stove for making tea. She got busy with something and forgot about it. When she remembered and came back to check, she found very little water left in the pan. Think, where did the water go? The water evaporated and turned into vapor. Why did Chitti Babu and Chinna Babu keep their mango jelly in the sun? Chitti Babu and Chinna Babu kept their mango jelly under the sun to evaporate water from it and make it dry. At your house, what things are made by drying in the sun? The things made by drying in the sun are papad, potato chips, buddies and pickles. We have seen that we can separate chalk powder by straining with a cloth since it doesn't get dissolved. But we cannot strain salt as it gets dissolved in water. Then how would you separate salt from water? You must be thinking that no, we cannot separate salt from water. But yes, we can. We can separate salt from water by evaporation. And what is evaporation? Evaporation is the process by which water changes from a liquid to a gas or vapor. So heat the water mixed with salt in a pan. Keep heating. A stage will come when all the water is evaporated and salt will be left in the pan. And this is the principle of production of salt. Do you know how salt is made? The seawater is collected in shallow beds dug in the sand. Water is allowed to dry in the sun. Due to the heat of the sun, water evaporates. After the water dries, the salt remains on the ground. Now, reference to a very important incident of Indian history, Dandi March. This incident took place in 1930 before India became independent. For many years, the British had made a law that did not allow people to make salt themselves. They had also put a heavy tax on salt. By this law, people could not make salt even for use at home. How can anybody live without salt? Gandhiji said, how can a law not allow us to use freely what nature has given? Gandhiji, with several other people, went on a yatra, that is long walk, from Ahmedabad to Dandi seashore in Gujarat to protest against this law. You have read about it in class 4 Hindi, Swatantrata Ki Or. Let's have a glimpse of actual Dandi March. Gandhiji began Dandi March on 12th March 1930 from Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad through the villages of Gujarat to the town of Dandi near Surat on the Arabian Sea coast, covering the distance of roughly 385 kilometers, to protest against the salt tax imposed by the British government. Hundreds joined the group of followers as they made their way to the sea. On 5th April they reached Dandi. On the morning of April 6, Gandhi and his followers picked up handfuls of salt along the shore, thus technically producing salt and breaking the law. Now let's see the route of Dandi March in map of India. This is the map of India and this is the state of Gujarat. Gandhiji and his followers started from Sabarmati Ashram and they marched through this route and reached Dandi near the seashore. And which sea? Arabian Sea. Now some glimpses of Sabarmati Ashram. You have learnt about evaporation. Now let's find out the factors which affect the rate of evaporation. That is, evaporation will be fast or slow. Now let's try to understand by answering a question. You have washed your handkerchief and you want to dry it quickly. What all can you do? If you have washed your handkerchief, first squeeze the hanky to drain out the excess water. Then, if you keep it squeezed like this only, it will remain wet for a long time and will not dry. So first of all you have to spread it. That means the surface area of the hanky for the water to evaporate should be more. if you do not spread it and keep it squeezed, the surface area of the hanky open for evaporation of water from it will be very less. Secondly, dry it in sun because due to the heat of the sun, water will evaporate faster and the hanky will dry soon. And if it is raining and there is no sun, then you can iron it. Due to the heat of the iron, water will evaporate faster and the hanky will dry soon. Thirdly, if it is windy, then the hanky will dry soon. If there is no wind, no sun, you can dry it under running fan because wind increases the rate of evaporation and your hanky will dry soon. So, to dry your handkerchief quickly, first squeeze the hanky to drain out the excess water and then spread it in the sun to dry. Dry it by ironing, spread it under running fan. The rate of evaporation is affected by the following factors. Surface area. The rate of evaporation increases with an increase in surface area. Temperature. The rate of evaporation increases with an increase in temperature. Wind speed. The rate of evaporation increases with an increase in wind speed. There is one more factor called humidity. Humidity is the amount of water vapor present in the air. The more water evaporates in an area, the higher is the humidity of that area. Hot places tend to be more humid than cold places because heat causes water to evaporate faster. More is the humidity, lesser is the rate of evaporation because the air is already wet and moist and your hanky will not dry soon. We sweat a lot when the weather is humid because it reduces the rate of evaporation of moisture from the skin. So the rate of evaporation decreases with an increase in humidity. What things do you put in water to make tea? Which of those things dissolve in water? We add tea leaves, milk and sugar in water to make tea. Out of all the ingredients, milk and sugar dissolve in water. Tea leaves do not dissolve in water and we strain the tea. You have been given some mishri pieces, that is lumps of sugar. Suggest some ways to dissolve them quickly. Mishri pieces can be dissolved in water quickly by crushing the mishri pieces into a fine powder and then dissolve it in water by stirring continuously. And secondly, dissolve mishri in hot water by stirring continuously. Now there is a project work for you. Perform the following activity and write your observation on behavior of lemon. For this activity you have to take 4 glasses. In first glass take water, in second glass take concentrated soap solution, in third glass you take concentrated salt solution, and in fourth glass you take concentrated sugar solution. Drop a lemon in each of the glass, observe the behavior of lemon and write your observation. Here we finish our chapter. In this chapter we have discussed and learnt a lot about objects that float and sink in water. Why do objects float or sink in water? Things float in salt water. We have tried to understand the terms soluble and insoluble. Methods to dissolve things faster. Oil and water do not mix. We have done experiments, recorded the observations and made interpretations. Separation by filtration. Concept of evaporation. Why some liquids move faster. Then salt from seawater, about Dandi March, factors affecting rate of evaporation. We have also done map work, location of Dead Sea in world map and location of Gujarat in map of India. Then you have also done a project on float or sink of lemon